Some use cases and then dive into kind of high level the Hadoop components, what each of them do, and what queries they run, etc. Kind of setting you guys up for the workshops that you're going to set. So, take you ready. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ron Stevens. I am the Hortonworks account manager based here in Dallas. We're really excited to be here. We go to a lot of big data user groups around town, and I've met Reddy at several of them, and he told us about this event. He said, we're looking to do something around Hadoop, and we'd like you guys to come in and maybe kick it off and talk high level about Hadoop, what it is, how it can be used. So we're really excited to be here. We appreciate the opportunity. So just a little bit on my background. I've been with Hortonworks for not quite a year, but in the big data Hadoop space, that's pretty senior. This space is got a lot of momentum. It's new, but it's got a lot of momentum behind it, and it is growing rapidly. So everyone that's here, I'm telling you, I was just talking to somebody earlier who's still in school. He's like, what do you think about this space? Hadoop, big data Hadoop, that is the space to be in. Gartner says it's going to go from about $5 billion next year to about $20 billion in 2020. So if you understand Hadoop, if you're trained in Hadoop, man, you are going to be really, really, really valuable to your organization. So hopefully we'll get you started here today. So we want this to be very interactive. If you've got questions, we don't have to wait till the end. Hold up your hand, throw them out there. If it's something we can answer quick, we'll get into it. If it's more of an in-depth conversation, maybe we can answer a little bit, take it offline after, because we've got to kind of stay on track. But we want it to be interactive, but please do not hesitate to ask questions. Questions will be rewarded. People who answer will be rewarded. We've got a few little giveaways. These are portable phone and iPad chargers. I don't know if you guys are ever in the car or at restaurants and you're needing battery power, but these are really, really cool. So we will be enticing you to participate by giving these away. So let's start the interactive session with a question. So on a scale of 1 to 10, if 1 is, I know nothing about Hadoop, I don't know how to pronounce it. We were at a customer yesterday, they kept calling it Hadoop. So it's Hadoop. So 1 is, I barely know how to pronounce it. 10's, I've got a cluster running at home. Who here is would you say 7 to 10? Okay, all right, excellent. So guys, bear with us in the beginning. This is going to be kind of 101-ish, but we want to get everyone up to speed. So bear with us. There's some gold at the back. All right. So who here is 5 or below? 5 or below. Okay, excellent. Okay, so this should really be good. So let's start with Hadoop 101, and we're going to talk about the basics. What does Hadoop do? Who invented it? Why? So I'm going to take kind of the Hadoop 101 piece because I'm kind of the dumb sales guy. I really don't understand a lot of the technology. We're going to let my engineers do that, but I can definitely tee this up, give you the overview, give you the background, and then I'll kick it off to Paul Hargis, who will go into use cases. So for the first chance at a giveaway, can anyone tell me where Hadoop was invented? Where it came from? Apache. Yeah. Okay. That's pretty good. That's worth 1. Anyone else got another guess?
I thought it was
There you go. That's the answer I was looking for. Here you go. Oh. Okay, sorry. Yes. So it was created. Keep me honest, my engineers. But it was created at Yahoo based on a paper that was published by Google. So what happened? Back in 2005, 2006, Yahoo, was known for search. And every night at the end of the day, Yahoo would go out and they would download the internet. I mean, think about that, right? They would go out and download the internet. Store it so that when you and I came in and Googled on Kim Kardashian, I don't know if that was just, I don't know if she was going on back there, but it would search that night before and put up all the different hits on Kim Kardashian. Well, the internet started to get really, really big. I mean, this was back in 2006, right? Could you imagine? But Yahoo started having trouble with the systems that they had in place. It was becoming technologically impossible and economically not feasible to continue to do it the way they were doing it with the tools that they had. And they started to panic, and they said, look, we got to figure something out. So they took 26 engineers, put them in a room and said, you better come up with something, and come up with something quick or we're in trouble. So those 26 engineers came up with what we now call Hadoop today. And that was a new distributed storage and processing system that was really, really good at taking large amounts of data, storing it, and be able to effectively go through and process that information. So that's where it was created. It was done by 26 engineers. And they decided back then, they said, you know, we could continue to do this ourselves, or why not look at maybe an open source model, where it's not just us that are contributing and trying to drive it to do, but let's take the smartest people in the world from Microsoft, Facebook, LinkedIn, IBM, you know, all these other different companies. Let's put Hadoop out there as an open source project, and let's drive it through the open source community. So that's what they did. They were using it at Yahoo, but they decided to let's release this as an open source project. So they put it in at Yahoo, and then quickly it started to underpin every click at Yahoo. It grew to almost 42,000 nodes at Yahoo. So it really saved the day for Yahoo. While Yahoo was starting to see great success, other companies started to hear about this, you know, in the Bay Area, and they talked. It's like, oh, you're using that. Maybe we should take a look at that. So other companies started to bring it in and started to use it. And then it started to grow, and other companies started to use it. So it's really gotten to start at Yahoo. It's really grown. It's really matured, and it's going to be something big. So I think you guys are here at a really, really good time. Now, Hadoop, what is it? Can anyone in one sentence tell me what Hadoop is? Somebody give me a try.
It's a distributed file storage system where basically there's a lot of redundancy in processing the data.
Yes.
And it allows you to do your processing faster and cheaper because you're storing it across commodity hardware, or that's what they say.
All right. Was that one sentence, though?
I got some words and stuff. Yeah.
Pretty good. So you know, I've been here less than a year. My mom was out visiting, and she said to me, she's like, honey, I still don't understand. What do you do? What is it? So there's this way that we describe it. I threw it out there, and it works. I'm gonna describe that to you guys too. Hadoop. Well, before I do that, is anyone here familiar with VMware? Server virtualization, right? I mean, we're all familiar with that, right? What does VMware do? What does server virtualization do? It takes a physical server, right, and it slices it up into lots of different servers. So instead of having one piece of hardware in one server, I can have one piece of hardware and I can have 30 servers running on it. Pretty cool stuff, right? So Hadoop is kind of the opposite. Hadoop is software that ropes a bunch of servers together and makes them act like one big, fast, smart computer. Okay? So I told my mom that, and believe it or not, and I mean, my mom, as sweet as she can be, doesn't know anything about technology. She actually was able to comprehend that and at least have an idea of what Hadoop is. So at a high level, Hadoop is software that ropes a bunch of servers together, and usually really low commodity, cheap servers, which is really cool. Ropes them all together and makes them act like one big smart computer. Okay? So that is virtualization. If you think of it as server slicing, Hadoop is server roping, right, at a very high level. So that's what Hadoop does, or that's what it is. Now, why are we using Hadoop? Hadoop works well with structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. Anyone here familiar with what we're talking about when we say unstructured data, semi-structured data? Yeah, I see some heads on. Okay. Yeah, so when we think about it, right, for decades, data was pretty easy, right? I mean, it was well-defined. There were just a few data sources. They were very well-defined. It grew at a modest rate year over year. We had really cool systems, relational databases, enterprise data warehouses. I mean, the world was pretty easy. What happened? We started to see things like the internet. We started to see things like mobile devices, which I may have lost. We started to see the Internet of everything, the Internet of Things, smart devices out on the network, satellite, sending data back. Data started to become very, very new. It started to become very, very big. And if you take a look at, and I think Paul's going to go into it, but there's basically, if we sort of boil it down, there's 6 new data types that we're seeing out there. And they're right here. And these things are new. They do not lend themselves well to our relational databases that we have, to our enterprise data warehouses. Right? They don't fit in rows and columns nice and neat. But they're powerful. There's a lot of information, a lot of power that are coming into these data sets. I'll just run through them quick. Sentiment analysis. What are companies, or what are people saying about my company, my brand, my product right now? Through Twitter, through social media, through things like that. Sentiment analysis, right? Marketing people are all over this from a use case. Clickstream. People, when they come to my website, what are their habits? How long do they spend on my website? Where are they clicking? What are they interested in? When they leave my website, where are they going? Those kinds of things. Sensors, with Internet of Everything, smart network devices sending data back at a continuous rate. Geographic, trucking systems, where trucks are, where products are, where pallets are, where people are. So those are definitely some new ones. Server logs have been around for a long time, but in the past, right, there was so much volume coming from the server logs, a lot of it just fell on the data floor and was never used. Now companies are looking into that server logs and being able to pull really good information out of that, really powerful information. And then unstructured, true unstructured, texts, pictures, emails, documents, things like that that have no structure to them whatsoever, right? But collectively, there's a lot of really valuable data there. So, and then you can see through, and Paul talked through this, but different verticals have different use cases. I'm a big retail guy, so I'll just pick one. Localized and personalized promotions. Companies want to be able to, when Ron Stevens walks into, say, a Target, hey, Ron's in the store, they pick up on my mobile device, or somehow they know I'm there. Last time he was there, he bought, he bought his wife a purse. Why don't we send him right now a coupon or a discount on the wallet that goes with that purse, or something like that, right? Those kinds of things are becoming doable now because of all the data that's available that we didn't have, say 10 years ago. And you can talk about, each use case, right? When we talked about localized and personal promotions, right? That's really based a lot on geographic, and I would actually say we would checkmark there clickstream behavior. Okay. So these are sites, and I know that, is that hard to see, by the way, in the back? Okay, I apologize. We're still the lights. Oh, web?
Yeah.
Web books? Oh, okay. Question?
Yeah. Just out of my, greedy curiosity, do you ever see aerospace and defense industry in the, what kind of applications they use? Because I don't see, it mentioned a lot usually in these.
Right. So we have a whole, so yes.
I can answer that question actually.
But we'd have to kill you. So.
Well, so aerospace in this area a lot of times means defense. So, but if we take somebody like Bell Helicopter, what they're actually doing, so they have a fleet of they build helicopters for commercial use, and what they're actually doing is they're embedding sensors in their components, and they're shipping that sensor data to a facility to collect it, so that they can do predictive maintenance. So they'll take tolerance information out, and when their equipment gets out of tolerance, they know it in real time, and they can take action, so that the people who are running that commercial aircraft can know that some part is about to fail, or some part is getting starting to need maintenance, and so they can do preemptive maintenance on their part.
Okay, so what do we know so far? Hadoop, it's software that ropes in a lot of servers that makes them act like one big smart computer. 2, it works really well with all data types, especially unstructured and semi-structured data. 3, Hadoop lets you store information as is, and you impose a structure at the time you access the information. Okay? We call that schema on read. Traditionally, data has to be what? Schema on write. You have to know how the data needs to look, how it needs to be organized, right? Not with Hadoop, it's the reverse. Don't worry about the schema. Don't worry about what the structure is or how it needs to be parsed. Just throw it into Hadoop. Hadoop will take it. It will gladly take it. It will store it. Then when you come and want to do the analyzation, that's when you're going to worry about what the schema needs to be. That is a huge, huge paradigm shift. Schema on read versus schema on write. I mean, do we have a lot of, I don't know, database, BI folks where that kind of makes sense? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So, and then fourth, right? And then Hadoop provides components for all kinds of different processing. Do you want to do batch processing? Do you want to take big chunks of data and throw it in and do some type of analysis? Hadoop's really good. Do you want to do real-time streaming? Do you want to do data that's constantly coming in? Do you want to be able to collect that and do analysis on that? Hadoop's really good at that. Predictive analytics, right? Instead of being reactive to things, let's start being proactive about things. Hadoop, really, really good at that. And then this is the stack. This is what Paul and Michael go to. This is the Hortonworks distribution platform, which is what the workshop is being built on today. And I apologize if you can't see that, but we're definitely going to go through it in detail. And then finally, all this great, wonderful stuff that we're talking about, Hadoop is free. It is open source. There is no charge for Hadoop. It is driven by the open source community, and that's a big, big plus, right? The community wants to give you this. Question?
Yeah, so I don't mean to say this in a criticizing way, but I'm curious.
Yes.
A lot of things it's great at.
Yeah.
I would suppose, like anything in life, Hadoop is not perfect. What are some of the limitations?
So
not to take away from.
No. That's a good question. And I'll throw it to these guys, but
Yeah.
you know, it's driven by the open source community, right? And so the philosophy behind that is no one company can out-innovate the power of the open community, right? So there are, and it's started in its infancy, right? It was very basic. It was kind of maturing in the beginning. You could only do batch processing. That was it. There was no other components. Community realized that, right? Said we need to add this feature, we need to add that feature. So as it grows, community sees holes and limitations, and they add to it.
I would say maybe to answer that question even further is there's so many components in the ecosystem that it's hard to get started. I mean, it's because it's so capable. You know, it's like you have to kind of understand what their capabilities before you start applying them.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a little bit of a cop out, but I mean, you know, it's.
But are there any known? I mean, for someone that's coming in as a novice today, are there any known limitations that may be in development, like you talked about?
Training, getting staff training
Yeah.
is one of the limitations. You know, like you know,
It's not a relational business.
yeah, it's. But we'll talk about how you map existing capabilities into the newer capabilities. In terms of what your technological expertise is,
Yeah.
we can talk about that.
I just have a question. Can you comment on the security aspects of the data? You know, I know Horton does.
Yeah, we're definitely
Yeah,
going to get
let's-
into that piece
Let's
later on.
let's
So,
get through your stuff.
I think, so that was it, right? Just a recap. What is Hadoop? It's software that ropes together servers and makes them act like one big computer, right? It works, it is intended to work with definitely unstructured and semi-structured data, but it works with structured data as well, too. It lets you store information as is, schema on read, not schema on write. That is a big, big deal, and these guys will talk about that way later. It's got the components for batch, real-time, and interactive. Okay, so it's mature. It's gone from just batch to now batch, interactive, real-time, and Hadoop is open source. It is, for the most part, free. All right, so with that, I'm going to go over to Paul Hargis, who's going to go into some specific big data use case or Hadoop use case.
Okay, thanks, Ron. Appreciate that. That's a good introduction. So there's three of us here from Hortonworks. It's Ron Stevens. He normally doesn't look like that. He normally shaves.
Oh yeah, I'm doing the Movember.
So he's one of our sales guys in the region, and he's really good at what he does. Mike Riggs is here. Mike. So Mike and I are solutions engineers. So people like Ron, you know, they throw the hard questions to us at the most inopportune time, and we're supposed to answer them. So I want to talk about a couple of things. So first, let's do take a reading on the room. How many people in here are developers or DevOps? Work in those. How many people write code? Okay, so yeah. All right, now keep them up. You write code. Okay, how many people manage people that write code? Okay, so that covers almost the entire room. So it's a good time for us, right? It's a good time to be a developer. There's a lot of emphasis on big data techniques, and so I'm pretty excited, and hope you guys are too. So why are we going to talk about use cases? Well, because let me ask this: how big does data have to be before it's called big data? Who has an answer?
When it goes outside of the relational format.
When it exceeds the capacity of a relational data store. That's a good answer. Ron qualifies, right?
That's right, man. It's your call.
I don't have as good of arm as you do. So. Don't want to hit anybody. Yes?
I have a different kind of answer.
A different answer? I can still give you one of these if it's good enough.
When it's too expensive to reformat it into schema.
Okay. All right. So it's too expensive. So his answer was when it's too expensive to reformat your schema. So that's a good answer. Ron, how many of these do we have?
I'm going to go get
He's going to get more.
Okay. Can you walk this one down too? Next answer.
It takes too long to retrieve from the relational database.
Too long to what?
Get the data from the
To extract it from the relational database. Those are all good answers. Those are all. Mike, you want to take this one? You have another answer?
Yeah.
But you don't get one of these because you're a speaker.
I'll answer.
Where are we going?
Over there, in the red.
Okay.
What's your answer?
Also, when you hit the limit of your hardware,
Okay.
that amount of data.
Okay, limit of the hardware. So those are good answers. What is the common theme among all of those answers? It's when you're exceeding your capacity in some way. You're exceeding the hardware capacity. You're exceeding the software capacity. You're exceeding the ability to manage the data and to in a reasonable time extrapolate it. So those are all good things. So the reason I ask that is everyone in the room, if you have, going back to the server logs, if you have server logs, then you have big data. So the answer to the trick question is everyone has big data. So and Ron talked about the fact that our company started from 24 engineers at Yahoo. I was in Palo Alto last week, and Arun Murthy is one of the leads. In fact, he's the guy who basically started and wrote Yarn, which we'll show you in a minute. Mike's going to go into more details of the components that make up Hadoop. So we'll talk about Yarn. But the fact is that these are the things that Ron showed you. If you have server logs, then you have data. Okay. And if you have data, then you have big data. So Arun Murthy, he no longer uses the term big data. Because if you have data, you can use these techniques. What is big data? What is all the hype about? It's about a new series of techniques to analyze the data that you already have. Okay. So this is the quadrants that we talk about when we say what are the use cases of big data. We put them into 4 quadrants here. You don't have to read all this slide yet because I'm going to show it to you again right at the end. So, but on this axis we have data, okay, and on this axis we have analytics. So how many people do business intelligence work in the room? Okay, good. You guys are really important to your company, and you're really going to be key to big data strategies as well. So here we have existing data and new data. Then we have existing analytics and new analytics. So when you guys have probably all searched and found some really interesting blogs, some of them are ours, Hortonworks, and some of them are other places. What do you normally see when you search for big data use cases or big data? You see stuff in this. This is the new and exciting stuff. Brand new applications, brand new analytics, brand new data. Okay, it's data that we used to not have access to before. You know, smart data, sensor data. I mean, that's where all the exciting stuff is, right? Social media. Let's analyze, clickstream, sentiment analysis. But guess what? That's not where we normally start. When we go in to help a company adapt these technologies, that's not where we start. We start down here. We start with existing data and existing analytics. So again, if you have server log data, you have big data. So what we do is we work with companies to say, let's get a proof of concept project underway, and let's take some data that you already have and that you already have analytics for, and get that up and running. And then after that, the typical next step is to go back and look at archive data. Companies store a lot of data. What percentage of what percentage of the data that's actually stored is actually in use at your company? Who has a number? Who would have? And there's no right answer, but I mean, do companies use 100% of the data that they store? They don't. So you store a lot more data than you're able to actually access and analyze, and that's where big data can really help.
Can I ask a question along those lines?
Yep.
And maybe it's because I've been dealing with a lot of data purging of late. How does this fit in with some of legally anymore? You can't keep data after a certain point in time. I mean, we're being limited right now to sometimes only 5 years worth of data. If you would have asked me that question 6 months ago, I would have said we had stuff going back 20 years. How does
Is that
this
because
help
of some regulations or law?
Yes, it's a finance company and we're dealing with regulations. If you have the data, you can basically be liable for it.
Exactly. So,
but it's
yeah.
not so much that you have to get rid of it, it's that companies want to get rid of it now because the requirement is to keep at least a certain amount, but you don't have to keep more than. So it's not that you have to keep it, it's that you're liable for it. You're getting rid of it as fast.
Right. So right. Well, I didn't really go into our backgrounds, but I spent a year at Google, and even at Google, they're saying they have an 18-month limitation on email, and unless you are under what's that term when something's being investigated? What is it?
The discovery? Subpoena.
If you are under
Subpoena?
Yeah, if you're involved or some project you're involved in is under litigation or potential litigation, you have to keep it. It's on legal hold or something, on litigation hold. So unless you're on litigation hold, your emails are going to be wiped clean as soon as they are 18 months old. And so even Google, who originated the idea of big data with Yahoo, they're determining that they need to clear the board sometimes. So that's a good point. 18 months is as much email traffic as they want to deal with. Of course, they also have 13 times more email. Everyone here, I'm sure, has headaches. If you take even a day off and you go look at your inbox, it's a nightmare, right? Yeah. It's absolutely insane. But at Google, they have 13 times the amount of email traffic that a typical IT person has. So they have a lot of stuff to deal with. So I want to, by the way, you're going to have homework. I know everyone came here, it's like, I got to sit here all day long, and now they're going to give me homework. Your homework by the end of the weekend is to come up with your own big data use case for either your company or your side project or whatever whatever reason you're sitting here today. And we're about to get into that. So what are the 3 things that are required to use big data? Number 1 is the software tools. Okay, so luckily, in this case, Hortonworks is going to make that free for you, okay? Apache, all of the projects that we're going to talk about today are Apache open source projects. Does anybody not know what that means? Okay, that means that you can go get the software right now. Some of you probably have already done so. So the nice part is that this part is going to be free. So there's no barrier to entry there. The second thing that you need is the knowledge to how to work with and apply that. And that's why you're all here. So you're already on the path to starting that. The last thing you need to get started is a valid use case. And that's what we're going to go through right now. So those are the three things to start working with big data. You need the software, you need the tools that you're going to use. You need to understand how to apply and use them. That's why you're here. And then we're going to go through use cases. So let's get into it. All right, so this slide, Ron already went through. So we're going to go into these in detail. This gives you an idea in the various vertical industries where these technologies are most often applied. So where do you see the most check marks?